It's been several months since Kathleen Wilson left Charleston City Council, and now she's a private citizen. I speak exclusively with Kathleen for a special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores, or listen to this interview later on the free iHeartRadio app. Kathleen Wilson, it's so good to see you.
Thank you. It is so good to be here.
Oh, I appreciate it greatly. Well, as we sit here right now, you are Kathleen Wilson, the private citizen, not a Charleston City Council member. Where are you emotionally with that?
I'm absolutely fine with it. It takes a little while to come down, a few months, but gradually it's a wind down, and I sit back and laugh sometimes. I have never been one to get myself wrapped up in something so tightly that it becomes me. I'm not a city council member and nothing else.
You talk about city council. Let me take you to, obviously, Broad Street. There was a huge debate recently about the city of Charleston apologizing for its role in slavery. If you were a Charleston City Council member today, how would you vote?
I did not even read the resolution, and I did that very deliberately so I would not take any sides. I watched some of the debate on television, on YouTube,
Right.
and I turned to my husband and I said, I am so happy not to be there tonight. Because it was a painful subject and there was no win. It was a no-win situation no matter what you did. Somebody was going to be very angry with you. And while I've certainly been in those situations before, that was especially emotional. So I have completely stayed away from it.
You talk about angry. A lot of people are angry with the way the Palmetto Artisans program is run in the city of Charleston, particularly in the city market. Where should the discussion about this program go?
The Palmetto Artisans, I think it pays to look at programs from time to time and revise as needed. And perhaps this is the opportunity to look at that program and see what changes can be made and how the program's really worked over the past few years. The one thing that I do see is the age range that can be expanded. There's no reason to cut it off at 16. It can easily go to 17 or even 18, because at 18 we become legal adults. I don't understand why it can't jump there right now. But let's take a look at how the program has done, how the kids are acquiring their materials, the ease of the whole program, and make any changes that need to happen. I know in that very unfortunate incident down at the market, there have been incidents where youth who are not enrolled in the program are down selling roses and do become very aggressive. I've heard from any number of store owners, business owners down there that it is a problem from time to time. Either get them into the program. If they don't want to, I don't see how they're selling the roses without a permit, a peddler's permit. So, now is the time to take an incident like that, not overreact, but not brush it aside. Let's go ahead and make some good come of it and reassess the program.
And a lot of things that people are reassessing right now in that particular area is flooding. Where are we with that discussion in your mind?
Flooding is huge in Charleston. We have to remember that we are at sea level, and when you live a few feet above sea level, it's tough to make the water go where you want it to go. Now, what we do have to continue on are the major projects, and Market Street is a major project. Market Street was built on a riverbed,
Right.
but it's a major project that is well underway as far as alleviating that flooding, and it needs to happen because there's been too much loss down there. One thing that we do have to be very careful of is differentiating between storm surge and daily flooding.
Okay.
There are some areas of the water where I hear people talking about, the flooding and flooding. I say, wait a second, that's storm surge, that's not flooding. The Battery being a prime example. We don't have nuisance flooding down at the Battery. We have storm surge when some of the water comes in over the seawall. And that's a whole other set of problems. And again, when you live 30, 40 feet from the ocean, those things do happen. The islands are a concern. West Ashley, the Church Creek Basin,
Right.
is absolutely a concern. I'm glad they extended the moratorium. I think that needed to happen. And we have to cobble together solutions from city funding, county, state, and feds. They're all going to have to come to bat because we can't do it as a city. But we've got to take care of these things. We've also got to look at our archaic zoning codes. And I said this a lot as a council member. The zoning codes are at fault in some instances. And we're gonna have to tighten up, and we may have to go to court and fight a lawsuit now and then if somebody has a perceived loss of property value because the zoning codes are tightened up.
You talk about court and lawsuits. Let me take you to 526, where it may end up in court. Obviously, the State Infrastructure Transportation Bank Board, basically for right now, pulled its funding for the completion of this particular expansion. Where should that discussion go right next?
Well, absolutely, the county is going to file a lawsuit. If the state pulls that and completely pulls the plug on that project and says, that's it, we've withdrawn the money, and they begin allocating it other places, oh boy, you're going to see Charleston County file a lawsuit. In fact, it probably won't even get to that point. 526 is the great conundrum. I don't see where 17 can carry much more traffic, especially in the afternoons. It's astonishing to go out to far out West Ashley on 17 during the day. I mean, this is at 11:30 in the morning and it's gridlocked. 526 is not the sole answer. It's one component of an answer. And that's what I think we need to look at as a community and stop pointing the finger at one thing. This is the problem. This is the problem. We have problems, but they take a myriad of solutions. Transportation overall. We've got to have increased roads and increased road capacity. We've got to have bike ped. We've got to have mass transit. We've got to have all these things, but because they all chip away at the problem.
Okay. And let me get back downtown, because obviously there's another problem going on, and that is short-term rentals. How do we get here with that?
Short-term rentals, I think City Council at the first stab did a good job with that ordinance, and that was a really thorny piece of legislation. Downtown needs to be protected, because in some cases we'll see a city block that is 5 or 6 homes long and 3 of them are short-term rentals. That is not healthy, that is not good. And I think those things need to be cracked down on, and the terms under which they operate. Where I would like to see changes made is aligning more closely with the county. Because what we have especially on the islands, where some people live in the county, some people live, for example, in the town of James Island, and others in the city, it can go house by house. So every single home on the street is operating under a different set of regulations. That is not healthy for a neighborhood either. So it's an ordinance that needed to be put into place and is going to require some tinkering and some fine-tuning over the years, where we see where the little flare-ups are.
Let me get back to you. Obviously, you are a private citizen now, but you're an entrepreneur. You're involved with swimming and performing arts and whatnot. How would you write your headline about your political future?
Oh, that's a great unknown. I never closed the door on anything, but I was probably asked over the years 20 to 25 times with some degree of seriousness to run for mayor. And I simply don't want to. I simply don't want to do that to my family. So that definitely is off the table. I don't know what I'll do. I'll see what opportunities present themselves. But meanwhile, I'm having a lot of fun, finally, after 30 years of stepping down a little bit and getting a little bit of rest and not running at a frantic pace. The email volume, the phone call volume, the volume of paper have decreased substantially in the house, which is a really good thing. And it's kind of nice to lie on the couch once in a while and know that I don't have to get dressed and go to a traffic and transportation meeting.
You talk about traffic and transportation. Let me ask a redundant question. How do we get here with that?
Oh, goodness. Well, I mean, that obviously corresponds to development, and it corresponds to not even so much the tourism industry, because people would rather walk than jump in their cars. How often do you see a tourist just meandering around neighborhoods on James Island? It just simply doesn't happen. Traffic and transportation is very, very hard, and as I mentioned earlier, it's going to take a little bit of everything, because every traffic solution that we create is going to chip away at a couple of % of that traffic problem. But the bottom line is, we're not going to go back to vacant streets ever in Charleston. There's always going to be traffic, because that's the new reality of the area.
Kathleen Wilson, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.